Everybody. Hopefully, this is coming through properly. I am actually trying something new today in terms of how I am streaming this, but for whatever it's worth, I got my fingers crossed. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about a little bit about something that kind of just came to me as I was working through some of my stuff. Is this paradox that comes into play when it comes to, well, some of the more important, valuable lessons that we get as we are trading. So I was going through some stuff, and last year, some of you had the opportunity to watch me trade, and obviously, I was live streaming my trading. I was going through this process, this growth, and everything like that. There were three separate times last year where I kind of had this complete and total meltdown. One was in March, one was in June, and one was in November. And I remember them because of the impact that they had on me. And so I want to talk about this for a second because one of the things that I've been, you've heard me talk about, like I love Huberman podcasts and stuff like that. So I've been kind of exploring the subconscious mind and how how we retain stuff. And one of the things that stands out is that the best way to retain information is to associate emotion to it. So the more emotion is associated to an event, the higher the recall. And so, I wrote out a couple of examples, but like think about the first time that you met the love of your life. I mean, I remember the first time I met Fawn Renee. I was wearing a blue polo shirt and a cheesy red tie and carrying a resume. Now, we've had a lot of fun joking about that because this was not a place that really warranted a resume. However, that moment is completely emblazoned in my mind. Not necessarily always the exciting sort of memories, like when you lost that loved grandparent, or maybe being frightened in a car accident or something like that. The higher the emotion in a moment, the more detail and specificity that the brain will recall. And this applies to trading as well. I say this out of experience because last year I can tell you those three times. I did not have to go look those up. I can tell you those three times that I had these very, very impactful moments. And the reason that, of course, that I can remember them is because they were very emotionally charged. So by virtue of having this recall, there's a lesson there for me. And what's the lesson? Here's the beauty. It's the irony. It's the paradox. It's let go of that emotion. When you're so emotionally charged when you're trading, it fucks up your trading. We all know this, but how do we learn this lesson? Well, unfortunately, this is one of those lessons that we have to learn the hard way, because we're going to recall those moments because of the emotional charge associated with them. Yet the whole goal, the whole idea here is to let go of that emotion. So I bring this back to this exercise. You guys see me post my little quotes on there all the time. This comes from a process that I do called the stack. And yes, I get these great, for me, lessons that I pull out of this. But the whole idea, this process really helps me address specific emotions. So, I mean, when I started off, basically all I did were these rage stacks. So, like when I would get super heated, I would go into this process and it would just ask questions, and it would kind of bring the emotional stance down. And it really helped me get to a point where I am in significantly much more control of my emotions. Now, that's not necessarily applicable to trading, but the thing is, and it's not like if you're in the charts and you have a bad day, you can like immediately go through this process. It takes a little bit of time, so you're not going to like stop trading, do a stack, and go back into trading. But after having done this for 3 years, and it didn't take me 3 years to get to this point, but having done this repetitively over time, I have sort of developed an ability to, in the moment, sort of kind of go through this process in my head. Now, I would never replace going into the stack and doing this on my own with doing it in my head. But when I'm in the moment and I need to address those emotions, I'm able to do so more quickly, which can help keep that emotional load down when I'm trying to trade. So this is something that has become an invaluable process. And there's a reason that I do it every single day. And part of that has to do with keeping my emotions in check before I get to a certain point, particularly when I'm trading, particularly when I'm in those high stress moments. Now, this also applies to being in, the marriage, when look, we all have these moments, we fight, we do all of these things. And I will tell you, having this tool at my disposal and utilizing it regularly, it really does help me to not react and not blow up and, not blow my accounts or whatever the case may be, simply as a reaction to high emotional intensity. And the really funny thing to me, I just kind of came out, is that the paradox is that you need that high emotion to retain the memory of that incident, yet the lesson is to let go of that emotion. So I don't know. This is something that's kind of coming to me as I'm going through this process, and it just struck me as kind of this really interesting sort of catch 22. So anyway, that's it for me today. I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday, and I will catch up with y'all tomorrow. I appreciate you.